All right, I don't have a lot of time. The kids are all sick, and I have a tiny, tiny lull. So ADA held perfectly on this dip. Well, I predicted the dip. It couldn't have been more precise. That prediction was absolutely flawless. In the case of like Key, I said I kept my long-term entry open, but I got rid of my shorter-term entry right at my entry price, so I sold it risk-free. And actually, I think I made a little like 4% profit on it. But I got out of my short-term trade, and sure enough, look, it just wicked and hit my stop loss, so I would have gotten stopped. That's exactly what I said. Why I was selling. We're going to get a small retrace, but we're overall bullish. So look, we're overall still trending up. We had the dip exactly when I predicted it would happen, but it came down ever so slightly. It wasn't like a big dump, right? And it held pretty much at these supports. So now we're turning up on the Stoke. The reason I predicted the dip was because the Stoke model has been on fire. It's been really accurate of late, right? When the model's locked in like that, I trust it. And right now, I certainly do. So now it's turning bullish, so I think he's going to break out. And ADA specifically, I love how ADA looks. Now, I never sold my ADA position. I made it risk-free, and sure enough, it never even hit my stop loss at my entry price. And now it's about to turn up. It's about to turn bullish. Is the hourly bullish? If the hourly... Oh, man, this is the perfect time to get in. So I'm actually going to add to my ADA position right here, because there's a horizontal support here. It's holding like a boss. We're turning up on multiple time frame stochastics. This looks so freaking bullish. So I'm adding to my ADA position. I gotta notify the VIP group, because by the time I post this to YouTube, things might actually start to move. So I gotta make sure that the paid my premium group is fully aware of everything I'm doing when I do it. All right, now what else can I just really quickly find? So what I'm looking for is things where the hourly and the 4-hour both have a bullish reversal on the Stochastic oscillator. Hot looks really good. I think I might have even sold my hot position. I'm going to add to it right now, put my stop loss below the prior bottom. So I'm going to buy right here. My stop loss will be about 3% below my entry. Let me just notify the group. I got to multitask. So like as I'm recording this, I'm telling Flux Trading Group, now I gotta go on my phone and execute on the trade as I'm still doing the video. And the kids are screaming upstairs. So hold on, let me get my buys in. All right, so I got HOT. I'm buying that here. I am... Let's see. All right, so that's good. FTM I left open, so I'm just going to maintain this position. I did close like my Dash trade. I took a 4.5% profit on Dash. Let's see if that's ready to make another move up. So I sold it, but I didn't really need to because it stayed so bullish on the correction. But I don't want to buy back into that one yet. It doesn't look as bullish as the others. RVN I closed out. Let's see if that correction looked like she's done. I didn't even have to, but I closed for like 4.5% profit, and now she's back much closer to my original entry. So if I buy back in right here, my stop loss can go below the 99 EMA. That's a little low. That's like a 4% stop loss below my entry. I don't really want to do that, but if the hourly also looks bullish, which it doesn't, I would. Okay, so I'm not going to do that yet. Algo, I moved my stop loss up to my entry on that trade. And I missed out on the breakout into the cloud, but now it looks really bullish. It's sitting at horizontal resistance now. Let me see what XMR is doing. That's another one that I exited. I closed that out, and I made a tiny profit, and it's broken out since. I wish I didn't close that one, but it is what it is. Tomo, I took some profit on the big pump, and then it corrected nicely. So now it might be worth buying into a long-term position here, but I still have my original long-term bag, except for the portion I sold to take profit. So I'm not going to do anything with that yet. My IOTX trade. Now, everything else corrected, and I got into IOTX. It was the one new trade I entered last night, and then it pumped for an 11.5% breakout. Now it's retracing slightly. I mean, it broke out exactly as I predicted. It's going to come back down a little bit. So I'm going to hold that and let it ride. VTHO. Still looking really bullish. I didn't close this one. This entry was incredible. Surgical precision. It's sitting at 24% profit again right now, riding up along the Ichimoku dynamic, the Ichima dynamic support at the top of the cloud. Flawless model. That played out exactly as I predicted. My model has been incredibly accurate. Let's see what else looks good. MTL's looking decent. RN's too high. Let's see. Quantum has big breakout potential. It never got below that horizontal support, but it's forming a descending triangle, so I don't want to touch that one just yet. FET already broke out. I have a long-term bag in FET, so that's going well. My long-term bag in REEF is pretty much where I had originally bought, but we do have a falling wedge here, and it's starting to turn bullish, so REEF might be a good short-term play. Bottom of the cloud, 222 EMA on the hourly model. We have a falling wedge here on the 4-hour model, sitting at each of my dynamic supports very well. Now, I would have expected it to dump to the bottom of the cloud, but it's possible it could bounce from here. So if I were to enter here and place my stop loss below the 99 EMA, about 3% below my entry, that would actually be a good trade because my stop loss would only be 3% below my entry, but I have a falling wedge and a potential breakout from a falling wedge. My stop loss is relatively tight. I'll have a 3% SL, 3% below my entry, and I have the bottom of this wedge, that trend line support. I'm going to have to put my stop loss about 3.5% below my entry here, but I feel like it's worth the risk for me. So I'm going to pull the trigger and get into that one as well. And I think that's it for now. I got to go up and deal with the kids. Let me get my trade in. My mana long-term bag is doing well. I'm still going to look for more. Ooh, Zcash. Wow. Now she looks nice. So we're poking above each of my dynamic resistances at the EMAs, but we just popped into the cloud. Popping into the cloud like that's big because there's a good chance we could break across to the other side of the cloud. So let me go back to Zcash. I want to see. Got a falling wedge on GTO. Potential breakout material there. UNI is already too high. Sort of like what we're seeing with Nano and ONT. You get into the cloud like that, there's a solid chance you can break across to the top side of the cloud. What does the hourly model look like? The hourly model is hit or miss. But if I were to enter here, at the very least, it should be able to do a 15% run to the top of the cloud as long as the market overall stays bullish. We are also forming a rising or an ascending triangle here, which is a very bullish formation, right? So you got that, and we're kind of approaching the apex. If I entered right here, my stop loss can go below the bottom of the cloud, below the 55 and the 99 EMA. If I put it all the way below the 222 EMA, my stop loss will have to be a little lower than I would like. Come in, babies. So if I enter here, I could put my stop loss about 3% below my entry. I'd like to keep it less than that, but again, in an overall bullish market, what I'll do is I'm going to set my SL. I'm going to buy right here, set my SL 3.5% below my entry, just down here. Then what I'll do is, in case you dip a little bit, I'll set a couple buy orders right around this area. So like 125.75 would be a good spot. And that way, if it does dip and it fills that buy order too, my overall average entry price is a little bit lower. That'll make my overall risk about 3% instead of 3.5%. So that's the last new trade I'm going to do for right now, since I'm dealing with sick kids, and Jenny's out for a while, so I got them all by myself. So, let me inform the group of this as well. All right. Okay. Now, just really quick, overall, because BTC is going to drive the market, we do have a rising, an ascending triangle on BTC. And again, you know, if you learn from me, if you join the group, Flux Trading Group, it's a very big on education. So I teach you guys everything I know. Over time, the more you practice, You won't need me to show you this stuff. I always say the point of the group is I want people to not need me anymore. I want them to learn so they don't even need me anymore. You should be able to spot things like this without even seeing lines on the chart with the naked eye, because your mind just sort of fills in the lines, right? Because you're so used to looking at these charts. You spend so much time and invest so much time training your mind to become second nature. So right now we're a little bit high, and there's a good chance we can come back down. So I'm not going to enter into a trade on BTC, but the overall market could react a little bit. So I think we might dip slightly, like here we hit the top of the cloud, dipped slightly like this, ran up to the top of the cloud, then the stoke came back down and dipped. And when that happened, we only came back down, 4% after on the move up was 10.5% up and then 4% back down. That's a bull trend, right? It's a bullish trend when you're making bigger moves up than you're making small moves down, big moves up, small moves down. That creates an overall uptrend, and that's why we have this trend line support creating that ascending triangle. Now, if we pop above the ascending triangle, so I can set an alert right here, right? So if we hit, 52.3K, chances are it could wick up and come back down, but there's also a really good chance it could break out from there. So if it hits that note, if I get that notification, that means everything else is probably going to run, and I most likely will buy into BTC if that happens and get into a leveraged BTC trade. But we're seeing movement on a bunch of other stuff too, so there's overall a lot to be bullish about right here. As long as we can get out of that ascending triangle. And it's a bullish formation, so it's about an 80-85% chance we break up. There's still a 15 or 20% chance we break down, and if we fail and dump here, everything's going to go down. So all of my short-term trades will get stopped out, obviously, but it's worth the odds, right? Because there's an 85% chance we actually break bullish here, which will carry everything else up. And the trades I got into are all primed for breakouts. I'm really good at identifying these potential breakouts, as evidenced by the fact that, yesterday when I entered into these trades and I called some of these plays, we got, an initial breakout of 10% on key and 30% on VTHO, or it was 24% on VTHO. On IOTX, the one trade I got into last night, we broke out for an 11% run. My cake entry was perfect. Cake, we broke out for 10.5, 11%. So my breakout model is locked in as always. And just to be aware, so you're aware, cake, still a good time to buy into cake here because we have this falling wedge, bull flag / falling wedge, right? And we're turning up bullish on the 4-hour model. Let me see what the hourly looks like. The hourly also looks pretty good, and we're riding that Ichima dynamic support. Plus the daily is actually pretty close to a bullish reversal. If the 4-hour can keep us bullish long enough to get that daily model to cross bullish in 2.5 hours, this candle closes. If we can break out like really soon, we might cross this bullish, and if not, the next candle, tomorrow's daily candle, if we stay bullish for like 24 hours, we can turn this around and turn this into a bullish reversal that would probably take cake back up to somewhere between $16 and $18. If we can just get this to be a green candle and the next one's a green candle, that means we're going up to 16, 18 bucks on cake. So it's still a good time to get into a short-term position on cake if you're willing to take the risk it entails. Looking at the hourly model, you can see here, if I adjust this slightly because the candles look different here. So if we look at the hourly and I see that wedge, you can see we actually just broke out of that falling wedge ever so slightly. Coming back, we're going to ride along the bottom of the cloud, the 55, the 99 EMA. We now have horizontal support there because we have the Ichima dynamics creating a support structure. So now we have a horizontal support here. We're going to ride sideways a bit until eventually we pop up. Once we do, we should bust up to the top of the cloud first, which would be a small, modest 5% run. Once that happens and we break the top of the cloud, we'll continue up nicely. So keep your eye on that one as well. Oh man, poor thing. All right, I'm gonna go get these kids. They want to get out there in their jumpy thing that hangs from the door, so I'm gonna go get them out, and I'll give you guys an update later. All right, bye.